To walk this route knowing that someone like Jane Austen lived down the road there, did this walk, family are buried up there. This was such a fundamental part of her life. Right, there's some beautiful walks that you can do from this very house that Jane Austen would have done herself. So let's walk in her footsteps, shall we? There's the Jane Austen house, the heart of the community here. And then if you come out there and do a right, it brings you up onto this road here. And then this way will lead down to St Nicholas Church. So Jane Austen lived at her house back there from 1809 to 1817, where she wrote and revised all of her novels. But we're going to be heading up to St Nicholas Church in search of, even though it was rebuilt in 1871, I think it was after fire damage or something like that, but Jane Austen's mother and sister Cassandra are buried in St Nicholas Church graveyard, and we're going to try and go and find the graves and pay our respects. This walk is known as the Countryside and Farringdon Loop, and if you continue past St Nicholas Church, you actually get to the Elizabethan Chawton House, which is well worth going to see. Yeah, the circular trail is about a 4.5 mile hike that will bring you back round to Jane Austen's house. Looky here, look at these. Now, I'm no historian, but she would have definitely seen these walking past. Fantastic. And also the walks that Jane Austen did. So the walk, if we did it all the way round, the 4.5 mile walk, it's very likely, almost definitely, that within those woods, when she was walking around, those surroundings too were a huge inspiration to her works. And everywhere you turn, I mean, look, just through that gap, just absolute beauty. That property out through there. Fantastic. There's always something about the charm of the English countryside. Some sheep, also charming. But to walk this route knowing that someone like Jane Austen lived down the road there, did this walk, family are buried up there. This was such a fundamental part of her life. And now we get to walk in her footsteps, which is something that to be cherished. And the fact that her writing desk and stuff like that is there as well, it's just amazing. And there's not a huge amount of rooms to go and look around, as you saw when we were in there, but what is there is just, it's worth a visit no matter what. If you're an Austen fan or a fan of literature, classic literature. We've just come up to the entrance to Chawton House, gardens and tea room. Which is just down there. Chawton House is an imposing Elizabethan manor house that's just a short walk from Jane Austen's house and St Nicholas Church. It was known fondly by Jane Austen as the Great House. It belonged to her brother Edward Austen Knight. Edward inherited this from wealthy relatives and then subsequently provided Jane and the rest of the family the cottage. That's going to be definitely worth a visit if you come to Chawton. We're going to continue on to St Nicholas Church, and that is the grounds of the Elizabethan manor house, one of the outer garden walls there. But we're going to carry on this way. Behind me is St Nicholas Church in Chawton. It's an Anglican parish church where Jane Austen once worshipped. And the grounds, the countryside here is so vast, and you're welcome to just come along, open the gate and go off walking, if you so wish, around St Nicholas Church. And then just at the backdrop of the church is that Elizabethan manor house, Jane's brother's place, just yonder there. To think the amount of times Jane Austen would have walked through here, along this path, the exact walk that we have just done from her house, along here, looking out, surrounded by a beautiful countryside, round here, and in through the main entrance, which is there, which we're going to go in a minute. Now, I haven't looked up on Find a Grave to find out the exact locations where Jane Austen's mother and sister were laid to rest, but I'm hopeful that as we walk round, there are a good few graves here, but we should be able to locate both. But I think first it'd be good to come and see the inside of the church. Hopefully it's open, it should be. Where Jane Austen and her family many times would have come for Sunday service, weddings, christenings. Silence. And little did the vicar know, all those times he was reading out Sunday service, that on one of these pews, sitting on one of these, maybe over there, front and centre, slightly at the back, was to be one of the most famous writers of all time. I wonder how old that is. She would have seen that. Right. Now I've had a look at some of the names on these around here, but no luck. But I'm thinking, as I say, there's not a huge amount of graves here. I wonder if they're going to be closer in from that time period, perhaps. And it's important to point out a church has stood on this site since at least 1270. As I say, it was later destroyed by fire in 1871, but I think I've actually found, I found the graves just over here. There we are. Gosh. Do one at a time. In memory of Cassandra Austen, who died the 18th day of January 1827, aged 87 years. someone's left a beautiful little message. 1st of July, no, I can't tell the date, I think it's 1st of January 2026. I can't read what that says. In honour of the purest friendship, I think. And then, memory of Cassandra Elizabeth Austen, who died the 22nd day of March 1845, aged 72 years. Wow. And the actual writing on it is very, very clear. To be honest, some of the other graves here now have lost any chance for people to really discern what's on them. Some still retain, depending on age, weather conditions and other contributing factors. But from where we entered the church, it's just round that corner, and then you just follow this path round. You can walk past, admire the beautiful stained glass windows here, and then you'll find the 2 Austen graves. I can only apologise that I didn't come prepared with a flower to lay or anything. I know some people lay stones or rocks on the grave, also a sign of respect. I'll have to definitely do that next time when I come back. But what a peaceful spot for them both to be. So there, just behind me, are those 2 graves of Jane Austen's mother and sister. Hope they're resting in peace, and everyone else that's buried here in such a beautiful churchyard, graveyard. Right opposite the tree we were looking at earlier, which is that one there. So just walk from that tree and you can't miss it. So we're just coming away from the church now, heading back towards Jane Austen's house. And of course, it's important to note Jane Austen wouldn't have had any need to attend those graves, because obviously, sadly, Jane Austen died before her sister and mother. So sadly, they would have had to have visited hers. Yeah, tragic. That was a sign of the times back then. Medicine's come on a lot since then. I do hope you enjoyed this little walk. Seeing the Elizabethan manor house, Jane Austen's brother's place, and of course St Nicholas Church, and visiting the graves of Jane Austen's mother and sister. With that being said, please leave comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.